onions for this dish we've peeled and washed and just cut them into halves. Probably can do it into quarters as well, and we're just going to blitz them up in the food processor because we want them really fine. Put the others in as well. This is going to be quite a runny soup type dish that paneer is cooked in, so we want the onions really fine, almost like a puree. There you have it. You can probably see that in there. It's got a really fine, just before it gets to sort of a puree. Ginger, fresh ginger again. We've used quite a handful, so there's my hand, and that's how much ginger we've used in this dish. And again, you can peel this just using a spoon. Just takes the skin off quite nice and lightly, and it doesn't take too long to do. We've peeled the ginger. I'm just going to chop it up, and what we're going to do is going to blitz this as well. Exactly the same way as we did with the onions. If you haven't got a food processor, you can use, a lot of people have smoothie makers, NutriBullets, you know, so we can use them. So we're going to use chilies. These are quite small, these green chilies, so we're just going to use a couple of them, cut the ends off. And we want to add those into that because they go in together, so we'll just put those in together. Lost a bit of chilli there. We'll blitz that with a bit of water. Chilies and ginger, we put a little bit of water in that just to puree them up so they all mix. And just again, if you haven't got a food processor, use your smoothie maker. Same way, we're going to blitz those as well. I'm going to use the same. Some people will mix the ginger and the chilli and the tomatoes together. I suppose you could do that. These we won't put any water in, they should just go. They are quite watery anyway again. Right, for this dish we're going to use paneer. Paneer comes in pre-packed. This is from the local Indian shop. As you can see, that's £3.75 for half a kilo of paneer. So probably the same price as cheese. People call it Indian cheese, don't they? A little bit different to cheese because when you warm it up, it doesn't melt. Made out of milk, which is sort of fermented with citric acid. Or white vinegar, and you can make it at home, but we'll cover that another day. You can get this from all your leading supermarkets, and like I said, probably a little bit cheaper if you go to your local Indian supermarket. Alright, as you can see, we've got our deep pan we're using for this. It's going to be quite a runnier tari type dish, so we've got oil. There's quite a bit of oil in there, sort of at the bottom of the pan, and that's warming up. And when that's warmed up, the first thing we're going to do is add our jeera, cumin, that goes in first, and then we'll throw in the onions. Seeds, the one that goes in first. So I've got a couple of these spoons, again these are teaspoon size, and they go in. We'll just wring them and warm those up in the oil first before we add the onions. Well, the first thing we put in after the cumin has had a few minutes in the oil is the onions. Remember, 5 small to medium sized onions which we've blitzed just before they sort of purify very fine in the food processor. And we'll put all of those in to the pan. Onions, we're going to add in just under 2 spoons of our salt. Right, the onions are browning off, as you can see, nice and translucent, and they've browned off quite nicely in that cumin oil and salt. And we're going to add in your ginger and chilli that we blitzed in the smoothie maker. I'm also going to just throw in the tomatoes as well. I'll just bring them out. Again, these were cherry tomatoes we used. Just a handful, like a full hand, or you could probably use a couple of small tomatoes. You can also use tinned tomatoes as well. Just blitz them in the smoothie maker. Get all those out. There you go. And we'll cook this for a bit and just mix in ginger chilli and tomatoes with the onions and let that just cook for a couple of minutes. When you put tomatoes in, if you're a little bit short of tomatoes, what you can use is your normal pasta sauce, so which is based mainly on tomatoes, so we'll just put a spoonful of that in as well. Chili and ginger and tomato has been cooking in those onions. What we're going to add in is our last two main spices, so it's turmeric, a good couple of dollopfuls. Be generous with that, and then the garam masala. Again, we're going to put one and sort of just like 1 3/4. So that goes in, and we're going to stir that up and just mix all that together. And you can see it's got a nice red colour with the spices and the tomatoes now. And the masala has mixed in with the onion and tomato mix. We're going to add the peas in now. Matar paneer, matar means peas and paneer is paneer. So we've got basically the same sort of density of quantity of peas as we have paneer. Not half a kilo, but just sort of a similar quantity as to see. And these are frozen peas. I've broken them up and they're going to go in there first. The paneer doesn't take too long to cook. It basically is cooked anyway, so that goes in at the end. And we're just going to let these peas cook for a bit as they are frozen in the onion masala mix. These have been cooking in there for about 3 or 4 minutes, just mixing in with the mix. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add water into this mix even before that paneer goes in. We're going to cook it and turn it into a tari. So the water is going to be boiling water. As you can see, the kettle is boiling away, and as you can see, the amount of mix we got is just about 1.5 inches off the bottom of the pan, and that's the amount of water we're going to put on top. So I'm going to add the boiling water in, and as you can see, the mix will sort of rise and start cooking straight away as the water is hot. And it's covered the mix completely, you know, we're going over the mix slightly. So we've got, the water is basically the same depth on top as what the mix was, and we're going to see how that goes. So we're going to now cook this and let the water evaporate away, which will form your tari. At the moment, as you can see, it is quite runny, but it will thicken up as it cooks. We've got the on a low to medium heat. We cooked actually the tomatoes and the peas at a slightly higher heat when we added those in. We had quite a big mix, so we'll now let this cook and simmer away. So we're going to cover that. It's going to boil away at the medium heat. As you can see, this dish has the holes in it, so it's got a bit of a gap for some of the steam to escape. Otherwise, you just leave it slightly ajar. So we're going to cover that and come back to that in a short while. Right, that's been bubbling for about 7 or 8 minutes. As you can see, bubbling away. And thickening up, as you can see, through all the steam. And to that, we're going to add our paneer. This is already pre-chopped up into quite smallish chunks. Some people have them in larger chunks, but this is all pre-done for us in the packet. Remember, 1/2 kilo of paneer. All that goes in. So there's your matar with the paneer. Just going to stir that in. So the paneer goes in there, and the paneer starts to take on all the flavours and the colours of the spices. So we're going to leave that now. We're going to put the lid on for about 3 or 4 minutes, let that cook in with the tari, and we'll come back to it. That's been going for 3 or 4 minutes. So the paneer is basically been cooking in the mix, and as you can see, it's taken on the colour of the turmeric and the flavours. And we're going to add in some fresh coriander, which we've chopped up. There's quite a bit there, as you can see. So that goes in. I'm just going to stir the coriander in. If you think you need this a little bit runnier, you can put more water in it if you want. This is quite a nice, thick, soupy consistency. And again, this can be served with chapatis or served with rice, so make some nice vegetable rice. We'll show you one day how to make that with some different types of vegetables and a few spices, and it can be served with that. So I'll just show you with the ladle what it looks like. And there you have matar, peas and paneer.